Lee. 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 Lee!
What?
There's a pandemic going on in the world and we need you to make entertainment online now!
Okay.
Quickly!
Let's do this. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Wait right there.
Okay.
I'm ready. Hello and welcome everybody to a very special episode of Co-Video Breakdown. My name is Lee and I'm Funky.
My name is Grace, the one and only.
And we've got a full show together with a bit of a Prince theme running through it. Obviously we can't play much Prince music because it's gets pulled off the internet and things like that, like yanked off. So
Not like that, I know what you were thinking.
what we've got coming up in the show, Grace.
Welcome. You have just accessed the Co-Video Breakdown experience. In this show, we will cover cooking, hairdressing, films, games, interviews, and reviews.
So, as usual, to kick off the show, it's our Corona update in a slightly purple theme.
It's been 7 hours and 30 days since the lockdown came our way.
I sleep through it every night and in all day since the quarantine came our way.
Self-isolation means I can't do whatever I want, but I can see whoever I Zoom.
I can't eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant, but nothing can't be Deliverooed. It's been so boring just being on social media. I'm like a bird without a tweet.
Nothing can stop these nasty germs from spreading. Tell me, baby, are your hands clean?
I can't put my arms around every girl I see, but that's more likely down to #MeToo.
I went to the doctor and guess what he told me? He said you'd better keep 2 meters away no matter what you do. But he's immune. All the hours that you wasted, Mama, on the Facebook have all grew since we stayed inside.
I know that living with my odour is sometimes hard, but if we leave, there's a good chance we'll die, because nothing compares
Nothing compares.
to flu. And to give you some real news, here's a little report I did on Bands for Bands in Oxford, who are doing a great thing to try and help during this thing. Take it away, me, with Taryn Anderson. Hello, Taryn Anderson from Bands for Bands. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Lee. How are you?
I'm great. I'm all right, yeah. All things considered, we got a lot of sunny days, so as long as I have the vitamin D. So thank you very much for joining us. You've got an awesome project that you're in the middle of. First, just tell us a little about Bands for Bands and what you usually do.
So we're a live music transportation service company. We run splitter vans and tour buses. In fact, I'm standing in my office at the yard at the moment. I'm the only person in at the moment because everybody.
Do you want to give us a view of your battalion?
Well, this is what our yard looks like at the moment. It's basically full of vehicles. They shouldn't be. They should be out on tour at the moment. We provide sleeper buses, nightliners, and also smaller splitter vans. And we've got about 60 vehicles. They go all over the Western Europe. And
60. Wow.
We work with all kinds of artists, right up to kind of Liam Gallagher. And then
Cypress Hill.
Normally they'll go, as far as kind of Serbia, Greece, anywhere,
Usually all of these would be all out about because it would be crazy gigging season, getting into even beginning of festival season now, isn't it? So.
This yard should be empty. Should be completely empty. Basically, when the lockdown happened, when they started banning events throughout Europe and then finally in the UK in late March, we got all of our bookings cancelled and all of our vehicles back in the yard within about 2 days.
Wow.
Just completely decimated the industry. So that's why they're all here at the moment.
Yeah, crazy. So you found an amazing thing to do with them, which is?
Well, what we've been doing is offering the use of our sleeper buses, which are these big ones. There's one of them just there.
Yeah.
To hospitals as rest facilities for frontline NHS staff, for doctors and nurses, to get a little bit of respite from the front line while they're on their long shift.
You've got an appeal at the moment whereby people can...
We do. We've basically, obviously, we've got no revenue coming in, we've got no income because no one's touring. So we're running a Just Giving campaign.
Right.
For people to donate to cover the running costs, just the running costs for the vehicle. It's the driver wages, because we have to have a driver aboard 24/7, and the insurance costs for the vehicle. It's Just Giving /vans-for-bands, and we've had lots of kind people donating to help keep the vehicle.
How much does like one vehicle, for example, cost to like have for staff for a night, say like an overnight day, say 24-hour period? Or...
I haven't actually worked it out for a 24-hour period. For a month, it's in the order of about £8,000. There's no profit. We're not making any profit whatsoever on that. Lee, to be honest, as much as doing it for anybody else, we're doing it for ourselves because it's been a pretty bleak time with, financially the impact's pretty much of a nightmare, and having something positive to focus on and be able to do. Removes a bit of that frustration and gives us, it's a little bit of light in the darkness for us to focus on as well, rather than just sitting here waiting and dealing with finance companies and banks and all the rest of it. It's much better to spend the time doing this. Our website is very easy. It's www.vans4bands.co.uk.
If anybody on the other side of things needs to get in touch with you, i.e. the health workers themselves and everything, how should they do that?
Same way, straight through the website. If they come through to any of the email addresses that are up there, we'll see them and we'll get back in touch.
Brilliant.
We're just keeping the funding ticking over. Our aim is to be able to keep the buses out there as long as they're needed. Hopefully not that long, but who knows? A lot of people are still holding on to bookings over the summer because we don't really know what's happening with festivals. Anywhere from June onwards. I suspect a lot are going to get postponed or cancelled. Our books are still full from September onwards.
So you're still playing and stuff?
Yeah, well, I play with Frank Turner.
Sleep Souls.
Yeah, so yes, in theory, although when our next live gig will be, I could not tell you. We were on tour with Dropkick Murphys in February in Europe. So
awesome. That fun.
I think it was Munich Town Hall or something like that.
Wicked. Good fun?
Yeah, well, brilliant. We've played with Dropkicks on and off for 10 years. So it was a big kind of family fun day out.
That's
fun
amazing.
Month out.
Wicked. And obviously you guys are all like practically familial at least anyway, between... I should say that you guys were Dive before, and Dustfall before that, in a unit anyway, before you became Frank Turner's unit, with the addition of the keyboardist.
With Frank, I think it's 12 years now, and with the three of us, about 20.
Wow.
Should be a new album happening this summer, but it's supposed to be being recorded, or we think it might be being recorded in the States. So again, everything's up in the air. We just need to wait and see what happens with no fly bans and all the rest of it.
Everybody, I'm sure, will be looking forward to all of that stuff. Cool, man, wicked. Well, I should let you get back on with saving not the world, but just a bit of Oxford, maybe. Who knows? We'll find out, I guess, after you'll know how much you saved. So, but yeah, wicked. Thanks very much for doing it anyway, Taryn, and thanks for taking time out to chat with us. And look after yourself, dude.
What a fantastic initiative from Vans for Bands. Thank you. And as we always do, let's have Vincent Vega kicking us off with some special Princey scratches.
A loop is a loop is a loop. Bah. Thanks very much for that, Vincent Vega. And now that you've seen all of the massive amount of stuff that we've got coming up in the show, here's Jules. Take it away, Jules.
Hey, what's good, people on lockdown? This is Jules. Here it comes in Tagalog for you from the Philippines.
Nagdadasal pero sumusuway sa paring Diyos. Kadalasan ay maginoo pero medyo bastos. Panayreklamo pag di bago ang damit at sapatos. Sesos nga nakapaalam buhat-buhat ako. Sa bawat kilos-galos ang tinanggap hanggang kamatayan. Kapalit ay kaligtasan sa mga kasalanan at buhay makasarili. Ating pasasalamat sumasamba ng di tapat ang mapatawid sa lahat.
Word. You heard it here first on the Co-Video Show. Lion of Judah, have to get you sparked up, you have to light it up real quick, gotta stay inspired, gotta let it out, let it release, artistic drive in this entropy, oh so chaotic and tripotic, may come out the pod like a lightning strike of goddess, oh and then keep flowing down the river of life, you gotta jump in and keep going, past the struggles, past the tide that pulls and pulls and pulls, and then we go to the other side, out and in, hello, from the other side, like a girl, I'm saying hello, just another spiritual being flowing within to this physical body, and I don't know how to get out, but one day we can, maybe in this other life, I don't know, the lion has an eye inside, but let your lion roar out in the wilderness, gotta make the straight and narrow, going to a straight away, better way, another day, cause one day we will all see that day when we could put it together and just be inspiration so pure coming out like straight from the lion's mouth. But I gotta keep eating till that day, you, me, yo, so we storing up, we packing up, we don't know what's going on, but until we know what's going on, we're moving on, gotta stay strong, gotta keep it going, keep it flowing, and you knowing that I'm going with the ocean of the motion, and going to the potion, drop another drip drop, makes it feel good for me, makes it feel like we're getting out this entropy, said that before, we're getting out this entropy, because this too shall pass, nothing here shall last, as things fade away, just like the earth, just like the sun, it goes on, but to another day we move on from that, because time is just a reflection of ourselves, living outside of time, as we combine these binds that bind us to the here and now, but here and now I think and dream about an inspiring thing, a dream of some heavenly being, I don't know what are celestial beings, I'm just a lion scratching my mane, I'm outside, I'm inside, I'm not supposed to be kept in the zoo, we're all getting loose, so get loose, get free, get inspired, get artistic, get whatever you need to do to survive, so we will all strive to thrive, cause one day we will be without nothing, and until then, create that. Love you. Peace, love, and unity. Duels.
Do you think our viewers could do with a good haircut, Lee?
I can't see. Maybe.
Well, if you want to have a simple trim, then here is Faith from Matchbox Salon showing you how you can give yourself a trim at home.
You're right, it's looking pretty hairy out there.
Yeah, hairy.
Now, if the person's hair is really long, like Louise, and we're going to take it to a tidy length, you might want to start taking some of that length off with your scissors first. Don't go too deep into the hair, because we don't want to take any gashes out of it, but you might want to take just the very longest bits with your scissors. So your clippers, which may not be brand new, can get through the hair. Now, before you clip the edges, make sure they're bone dry, because it's much easier to clip a hair when it's dry. So get your hair dryer. And as you go, just comb the hair down with your comb. And when you're happy that that's completely dry, you can choose the length for your sides. Now I've chosen a number 4 because short braids look a bit strange on Louis, but you could choose any number that you like, depending on how short you'd like the size of the hair to be. And when you've done that, take the clippers and go from the bottom, gently pressing onto the head, bringing it up through the hair, and when you get to the sort of temple area, instead of rounding it around the head, just pull it straight up to the ceiling. Now just go around the head, pulling it straight up to the ceiling, going over it a few times. You can use your comb to get rid of any stray hairs. So you don't want to take off this corner here, just take it away from the head. And the best technique for holding the clippers is to have your thumb on top here, so you've got full movement of the clipper. And just carry on doing this around the head, you're pulling away a bit more so when you get to the back. Once you've gone over all the sides once and you're happy with them, go over them once more, because there'll be lots of strays that you've missed, and that'll just make the finish a lot neater. Now, Louis' ears are obviously very hard, but with most people you can just push the ear down and go up behind it like that and go in different directions. So just make sure you're getting all of those hairs in. Again, using your comb to just get away the strays. Now when you cut the sides, make sure the top's nice and wet again, because we're going to comb it down and take the second section. So the second section is right here where the hair goes in at the corner, called the recession, and you're going to take our line around the head from there, combing it out of the way, following that line all the way around the head, and up a bit higher at the back this time. Clipping it out the way as we go. So continue taking that section from that corner on the other side of the head as well, as neat as you possibly can, and clip all of that out of your way. Now when you have a really tidy section that you're happy with, you're going to connect the sides to the top length. And this is probably the trickiest bit of the haircut, but I know you can do it. Now what we need to do is use the edge of the comb and draw a section that's about 1/2 inch wide, like so. Pull it out from the head and use your comb to grab it, like so. Now when you grab it, you'll see where the short hair is that you've clippered. You want to angle the hair slightly away from the head and cut just up to your knuckle. When you comb that down, you'll see that it's starting to blend in together. Then once you've got one of those sections, comb it down, grabbing part of the section you just cut and part of the long hair. Now you'll see the short hair that you need to meet the length of and cut. You can keep combing it down to look how it's getting on. Then again, half of the new section with half of the short hair, cut. Keep following around the head, grabbing some of the long, some of the short, and cut. Now when you come to the front section of the hair, you can grab it and pull it towards you, as you have been doing, and slightly back away from the face as well. And that gives you options for kind of sweeping the top into the sides. So just carry on that same technique around this side. I usually start over the ear, just taking a small section of the hair, clamping it in your fingers and pulling it towards you to meet the shorter length. Follow it all around to the back of the head. You see the short hair that you're going to meet there. Now that you've cut the sides and blended them through to the top, you have the option of either leaving the top length, a very hipster style. For those who want more of a classic short back and sides, this is the time where you'll now cut the top. So again, get control of all the hair that you're working with. And now we're going to take the hair in sections and bring them straight up from the head and cut them. So working your way from the back of the head, take a parallel section straight as you can, move the rest of the hair out of the way. And now cut this hair not straight across, but pointing into the hair like so. And just clamp it again. Comb it down and see how it's sitting with the rest. Then repeat, take a section across, move the other hair out of the way, hold it up parallel from the head, and you want to grab a bit of the last section so you can see how long to cut. You can see it's there for guide, and cut. If you rest this blade on your finger, you won't cut your fingers. It's a good one to know. Take your third section, neat as you can. Hold it up from the head with some of the old section in there. See where it is there, and cut. And you'll see that that's starting to blend in nicely to the back. Now when you get to the final front section of the hair, or the fringe, some people like to wear their hair swept back, and for that you'll need a little bit more length through the front. So if that is the case, when you pick up that final section, in with some of the old bit, just pull that towards you ever so slightly before you cut the hair, and that will give it a little bit of extra length. So now, to make your cut look tidier through the edges, if you've gone in with a number 4 on your sides, then get the next number down, so the 3, and just tidy in the very edges with that shorter grade, blending it in to the sides. That will just look smarter throughout. So if you've gone with a number 2, you'll be doing this with a 1. If you've gone in with a 3, you'll be doing it with a 2. Just getting those wispy edges all the way around. So to finish off and really refine your haircut, you want to use your edge trimmers to just go around the very perimeter of the hairline. Now, I'm aware that a lot of people might not have a pair of edge trimmers at home, and if you don't, you can just use your normal clippers. Make sure that your clippers are closed, so when this lever is pushed back and you see the blade come out, that's open. You want it to be closed, so it's as close as possible. And as you go around the hairline, just use the very corners of the blade, so you're not cutting into the hair, but rather just taking off those tiny wispy edges with that sort of action around the ear. And again, you push the ear down and just use the corner of the blade to refine through there any wispy bits. So you go that direction, and then in front of the ear, you come back the other way, being careful not to nick the ear, all the way around the hairline. Now once it's dry, you might say, Faith, oh no, I can still see a little step in the hair. What am I going to do? I'm going to let you in on a secret. Thinning scissors. If you own a pair of these, it's like magic, blending out those ridges. So if you can see a little ridge in the hair, just get the wide end side of the comb dipped in and go through the ridge like so. Just give it a few snips. Comb it down to see how it's looking. It will start disappearing. Give it another go if you want, but don't overdo it. Now I must say, do not use thinning scissors on curly hair because they don't agree with it, but on straight hair and wavy hair, you can use them to refine through any ridges. Now of course we're just going to be sitting on the sofa for a long time, but if you still want your hair to look awesome, then finish it off with your favourite product, a bit of a matte clay or a paste. I'm using Cume because it's amazing. Just go in, rub it together in your hands and work it all the way through the hair, getting right in to the roots. Just keep working it through and putting the hair where you want. And there you have it, a much smarter version of Lockdown Louis that you've achieved at home.
Video breakdown. I'm Morris Day.
And I'm Jerome Benton.
Awesome. I need to grow some hair so that I can just go and do that. That would be good fun. And I kind of particularly liked the dude she was cutting the hair off. He had a good look, I thought.
Yeah, I think that beard's going to be the new hipster trend.
Yeah, Louis starting trends all over the place. Next up, we've got an interview that I did with the guys from Peach and Black. Do you know podcasts? Do you listen to podcasts?
I do.
Yeah, you listen to a lot of podcasts.
All the time.
I was on a podcast last week as well.
You
Podcasts
were?
are all the rage, actually. So
Yeah.
imagine if you just started doing a podcast with a few guys who just happen to be fans
Yeah.
of the same thing as you, and then you ended up meeting the subject of your podcast. Pretty crazy, right? That's what happened to these guys from the Peach and Black podcast, telling us about how they ended up meeting Prince. Captain from the Peach and Black podcast, which is now world famous, started from humble beginnings.
Early 2009, I
Right,
think it was
yeah.
January, we put out the first show. It was probably only a month or two before that. MC put out a message on whichever forum. It might have been the org or it might have been Housequake. I can't remember. It was
Right,
so
yeah.
long ago. And I just went, oh, okay. I didn't even know what a podcast was. It's like, oh, we'll just get on there and talk about Prince. I'm like, okay. Now it's 2020, so it's been over 130 episodes now. We do 2 or 3 hour shows. So.
Yeah, they're long. Yeah, I mean, there's no short work for whoever's doing the editing as well. Do you edit or?
That'd be me.
Oh, crikey! Wow. So you went from
Toe Jam does a couple here and there, but most of it's me. Yeah.
So you went from not knowing what a podcast was to editing 3 hours of chat about
Well,
Prince and trying
if you want to talk like the 1999 Super Deluxe, that was edited down to about 12 and a half hours.
Yeah, it's
from,
a lot.
I don't even know how long it was before that.
Did you start off tentatively? Like at first, you were kind of like quite cautious about how long you wanted the shows to be and stuff like that.
I don't think so. At some point early on, we did say, let's try to keep it to maybe an hour, hour and a half, but that didn't last too long.
Went out the window, yeah, sure.
It didn't last too long.
You got 4 people all giving opinions as well, and then all the interaction that has to happen when they give those opinions. So it's gonna.
That's the thing. Like we all write our own, notes on whatever song.
Sure.
That could go from 2 minutes to, 8 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Times that by 4 people.
Yeah.
And then plus any conversation we have about I disagree with that point or this point, and then I think there's a song on the Purple Music on 1999 Deluxe. I think that was it was over 30 minutes. It was like 30,
just on the one song. Sure.
It was almost 40 minutes on one song, but then again, it's an 11-minute song.
Yeah, I mean,
that song could take the award for the longest we've ever talked about a single track. So
you've managed to entertain me for almost the amount of time you've been going. I think I happened upon it probably a year or most 2 after you'd been going. And how did that grow? At some point, you were suddenly being mentioned in the NME as one of the top
that happened.
podcasts you must listen to, and
that's it. I'm not sure. We never really did any advertise. We're not 20. We're like all late 30s, I think, early 40s. We're not that great with all the social media and everything.
Sure.
So when in 2009. We
cynical
had no clue.
enough. Yeah,
we just started doing the podcast, and we're like, well, if people listen to it, they listen to it. And then, after a few shows, we're like, oh wow, 100 people listen to the show, and that was amazing. And now, you get tens of thousands. Just like holy moly! But again, it's just been a very slow. Organic.
Yes, great.
We never really did any promotion or advertising. I mean, we do some stuff on social media, but it just grew by itself. And it was it the first or second year when Prince listened to the show? And I think from then a few more people were starting to take notice, because they're like, well, if Prince is listening to it, there must be something there.
Sure,
And he never came out and said he listened to any other podcasts or any other sort of thing like that I know of. So that was something.
Any inkling as to why you think he picked up on you guys and not others? Or
it could be one of so many things. One could be the sense of humor,
Right.
because we know his sense of humor,
Right. Sure.
and we've got an idiotic sense of humor as well,
Sure,
which
yeah.
that might have been part of it.
Yeah, he might have found it
But
very
also,
entertaining.
but we didn't get on there and say every song's great. He's a god.
Right. Yeah.
Everything's perfect. Like if we didn't like a song, we're like, I don't like this song. But then we didn't just leave it there. We're like, I don't like this song because
Right. Yeah. Sure.
the drum sound on this sounds like it's from
Yeah,
35 years
yeah.
ago. Or it's like constructive criticism. We didn't
Sure.
just say, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do remember a few songs. I think there was one track on Rave. I don't remember which song it was. It came to my turn to review a track, and I just literally said pass. So
Right. Yeah.
that's not really constructive criticism, but
It wasn't the 5 minutes
that was pretty
it wasn't
rare.
the 5 minutes of silence for Miles Davis on Rave, was it? Because that's all right. You can pass on
it was actually one track on Rave. I can't remember what it was. And now I'd probably have something to say, but back then I was just like, I can't even be bothered.
I've got nothing for it. Yeah. That's probably better than saying something bad, isn't it? Still, and then obviously that led to you guys being invited to go and meet him. So that must have been like just the most mind-blowing thing, really.
Like I look back at that now, which is 10 years, almost coming up. It'll be 10 years in October. So
really, wow.
You look back at that and you're like, oh, that was a really special thing. And it was in a way, but then also at the same time, he was reaching out to a lot of online people.
Sure.
Like if you remember back then, if you were around back then.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You might remember Shelby, not Shelby J, another Shelby. And he gave her like a few of the Montreux video tracks to put up on her YouTube channel.
I do remember
and
that, yeah.
He was reaching out to online people in that way. And we were sort of an extension of that. Although Shelby also did get flown to Paisley Park because she was in, I think, Atlanta. From a cost point of view, I'm sure flying two of us from Australia was way higher in the list than flying someone inside the US. But look back at it now, and it's just like, did that even really happen? It was just such a crazy few days. It's bizarre. It wasn't the first time I'd met him. It was literally the third or fourth time, but it was the first time we actually sat down and had a long chat for like hours.
Mm-hmm.
But his persona, I guess, it was interesting because he's been, there's Prince when he's at Paisley Park by himself, just being himself. But then as soon as he's in front of people, it's the Prince persona.
Yeah, he's
playing that guy. He's on.
Yeah,
and he can maintain that for a whole concert. He can maintain that for a while.
Yeah.
But when you're actually sitting down having a conversation, it sort of slips in and out. Like you do see the real person there, like just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting because the other times that I'd met him before, it was just like in the public setting and there's other people around and he's just being Prince.
The Q&A where he's like got his answers almost kind of ready for you before you've even like said your question or almost like Prince wisdom or something, if you know what I mean, like where he and he'll have these like not quite pre-prepared lines, but there's stuff that's very deeply tied in with all his thought process about stuff. So it must have been nice to, I guess, every so often catch him off and like get something that was a bit more like unrehearsed or pre-thought.
Yeah. Like the funniest thing was, just before we met him, I'd seen him do a few other interviews. Like he'd invited some journalists to Paisley Park and like they'd sit down and talk or they'd listen to music or go for a drive in the car and play a new album, whatever he was doing at the time. So I knew, you can look at any interviews throughout his career and you can tell, okay, this era, this few months, he was really focused on this thing. And like he brought it up in every interview. Sure. And when we went and met him, he, every time he brought up things which I knew, like you said, were his like pre-prepared lines in his head, which he'd mentioned in every other interview.
Yeah.
I tried to get him off topic every time.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I didn't want to hear the same thing that I've heard time after time. Because, the funniest thing about it was it wasn't even an interview. Like
Sure.
all the things that his manager at the time had mentioned to us in email that he wanted to talk about, not one single one of those things was actually brought up
Really?
in the conversation when we sat down with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't an interview, it was just a conversation.
Yeah.
And we had no idea until I think late that night or the next morning. And then his manager contacts us, and she said, I hope you'll be doing a show about this. And like, stupidly, that hadn't
We
even
didn't
entered
record.
our head.
Yeah.
We didn't record it. And the thing is, nobody checked us. We could have easily recorded it, but I think there was that trust there already, which was very interesting.
Yeah. Because I guess because you're hardcore proper fans, you actually know that you don't need to be told to not record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't need to be told that. But looking back at it, it would have been so simple to just have a recorder in my pocket.
Yeah.
Nobody would have known because nobody checked us. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
But then, so, and we're like, oh, okay, we'll do a show about it then. When we got back to the hotel that night, we actually got on, I think, Skype at the time, just audio though.
Mm.
And it was me and MC, and we got Toe Jam and Player on the call.
Yeah.
And we literally talked to them for probably about 4 hours about everything that had happened just in the last few hours. But for some idiot reason, again, we didn't think to record it. Because I'm sure there's stuff that happened at the time.
Yeah, that you'd remember straight after. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and if we had that recording, like MC did have notes, but still, that's not everything. Like, and even the stuff that's in that show that we put out when we got back to Sydney, there's still a lot of stuff in that was not included because we weren't sure. Well, if we say that this happened, will Prince be annoyed or he doesn't want this in or out? So we were very careful. And when I listen back to that first show now, it's just awful to me because it misses so much.
Right.
If you need to listen to a show about it, listen to the one with NASA, which we did last year.
Right.
That's a lot more. Or listen to both. But that one's probably more comprehensive, and it includes just about everything that we could remember.
Yeah. Plus, you've got the added bit of someone else who was there, I guess, to kind
who was there.
Yeah, and give their perspective on it as well. So,
which was really interesting.
I guess that kind of brings us on to the vaguely uncomfortable topic of him passing, which was obviously how were you guys affected by that on your side of things? That must have been quite a day.
From what I remember, it was about 5 a.m. here.
Right,
so that's not something you want to wake up to. And I think it was a text message from Player or Toe Jam, and they're like, turn on the news. I can't remember what, something like that. And then at that point, it had just happened, and they're like, a body's been found in Paisley Park. And we're like, it could be anyone, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't take long before they found out.
Yeah, it was
confirmed that it was him. So strangely, I don't think I was that sad at the time. I think I was in shock, like a lot of people, for a long time, like months.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't till maybe at least 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, and then I was sad.
Yeah.
And then you'd hear a song, you'd hear like sometimes it snows in April, or some song like that, and then you just lose it.
Yeah, there's some I
just
have to stay away from.
Yeah, well, a lot of people still say they can't listen to tracks like that.
Yeah,
which is understandable. But it was such a weird time.
I guess it's all in retrospect now. What your favourite Prince gig was out of all of them?
Ooh.
And how many have you seen? And then what was your favourite?
I think I worked it out a while ago, and I think it was 12 shows.
Right, cool.
Which is decent.
All right. Yeah, I saw about 15.
I know there's some people who haven't seen him at all, and I know there's people who've seen him 300, 500
times. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What I've learned is there's always a bigger fan.
Oh, yeah. don't ever think that you know more than someone else. I mean, you might. I'll do a quick run through of the shows that I saw.
Then, yeah.
The first show I saw was the first celebration.
Oh,
the 13th of June 2000 in Paisley Park.
That's amazing.
Well, the actual show was at Northrop Auditorium. And that was just a massive, 3-hour show. And it was a one-off show. It wasn't part of a tour. And the set list was just insane.
Yeah.
You
No,
had
I've
Bobby
got-
Z, Brown Mark, and Dr. Fink turn up on stage,
Wow.
which, as far as I know, is the only time there's been any sort of Revolution mini reunion.
Amazing.
So that for my first show, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But then I saw a One Night Alone in Japan show. That was
wicked.
bloody great as well.
I never got to see that tour.
I saw 2 musicology shows in North and South Carolina.
Awesome.
And then I didn't see him again until 2012 when he came back to Australia. And then I saw 1, 2, 3. I saw 3 shows and an after show. My first after show, which was at the Ivy, which was pretty good. It was a good after show, but there were a lot of idiots in that audience who were just like rich wankers who didn't even care that Prince was on stage. They were just there
the way
being cool.
a bit later on. Like I remember when we went to the final time I ever saw him, we were up in some weird little kind of tiny area up at the top, and all these rich people all in the kind of areas where you could actually see and everything. And it was like, this is the way it goes, I guess. But
like, as annoying as it was for hardcore Prince fans to be there, you could tell Prince was annoyed as well.
Sure.
It's just
he just wants the people who are going to be into
and
it.
his reactions to things were just different to if it was like a crowd of like screaming Dutch people in an after show. It was very different to a bunch of rich wankers in Sydney.
Sure.
How he interacted and everything. I mean, it was my first and only after show, so it was cool. The last shows I saw were Piano and Mike. 3 of the 4 Sydney shows. Yeah, and they were amazing as well. And whatever after show you see is always going to be a special one. Even if it's not the best after show, if that's your only one, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, but I cannot pick a best show. I can say, though, possibly the 2 musicology shows are at the bottom of that list.
Any reason?
I'm not particularly sure why. It's just I liked all the others better, like that I can remember. It was massive arenas, 20,000 people or whatever.
Sure.
And it was a great atmosphere, and it was all hits. But they just, by 2004, I'd heard all the hits.
Yeah, I know. It gets to the point where
I've heard a million bootlegs. So I'm just like,
you're really waiting for that. I remember like certain moments during the O2 shows were like when he played like the piano version of Something in the Water and stuff like that, and you're like, do you know what I mean? Like this is what I came for, the gold. This is the real the nuggets. Do you know what I mean? So like the Crazy by Niles Barkley being played every gig, I could do without. Do you know what I mean?
Like the 2012 Welcome to Australia shows were definitely an interesting sort of set list. One show he opened up with Gold, and we would just blew my head off. It's like, what is happening? He didn't play Endorphin Machine, even though we had a sign with Endorphin Machine, and he saw it. We know he saw it. He pointed and laughed at it, and he didn't play it on purpose. That's very annoying.
And later on, he used to have Josh come out and do the cowbell for Endorphin Machine, didn't he? Made a proper joke of it after a while. Like, tell me that didn't come from the podcast. I'm sure that must be a nod. Do you know what I mean?
There's so many things, like, and we always mention it in the show, where like, have you ever noticed that we said this and then like 2 months later this happened? Like there's so many things, like, and we keep saying, oh, put that on the list, we'll make a show about it. But we'd actually have to go back and listen to every single show and find all those things again, because we didn't keep a list like idiots. But there's easily a 2 or 3 hour show of things that we said, and then
when you run out of topics, that'll be something later. That'll be something you can do. The Nostradamus podcast, where you predicted all of Prince's moments. Have you got a favorite like era?
It's probably like 91 through to January 96.
Right, pre-emancipation.
The whole NPG, from the start. New tour, not so much, but like from those Rock in Rio shows in early 91.
Oh, really? Even for like Get Your House in Order and
93
Horny Pony. When Horny Pony was still in the running to be on Diamonds and Pearls, it was just like he's going to put it on, and then he must have just had a wake up moment where he went, "This song's really weird. I need to come up. If this isn't going to be the new dance craze, I don't think anymore."
Do you know what? I just saw an interesting fact about that track, which had never occurred to me. Like, that song was recorded in 90 or 91, but it was probably meant to come out in 91, 92. No, 90. Yeah, it was supposed to come out in Diamonds and Pearls in 91.
Yes. Yeah.
And the lyric in that song is, we're talking about the next dance craze, and he says for the next 8 years.
Right.
And what's
yeah.
8 years from then? It's
Until
1999.
2000. Yeah.
I just read that the other day, and I'm like, oh wow, another reference to 1999.
Yeah.
Blew
Crazy.
my mind. It's like such a, not a great song like that, which I love though.
I love
like,
Horny
even
Pony.
that had a reference to 1999. Wow.
I just love all the women's voices. Like, oh no, he's just too weird. I just can't. Like, it's just so funny. Yeah. And when he goes, that's like so weird. It's so good.
It's a great song.
If you had to recommend like 5 deep cuts or 3 deep cuts or whatever,
these questions they totally kill me because there's just so much to choose from. And people always ask you, what's your favorite song? And it's like, that's an impossible question. But then I see other people answer instantly. This is my favorite song. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
Candy. If anyone knows Candy, she put up her list of her top 100 tracks.
Wow.
I'm like, I can't even fathom putting more than 5 down on a list without changing it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I change my album orders all the time. So,
but let's go with, just off the top of my head, the track, The Rainbow Children. Let's say Horny Pony, just because it's there.
Wicked, yeah.
And Hide the Bone.
Oh, nice choice. I always want to do a cover of that. Such a good song.
The hard funk on that track will just kill you if it's loud enough.
So good. So good. And do you have anything you're really, really excited, like as in, not you're really excited, you really, really wish would be released from the vault?
Again, it's the same question. It's like trying to pick from a million things.
Yeah.
I would probably say, like, this is probably the easiest thing I could think of.
Mm-hmm.
We want studio tracks. They don't have to be perfect quality, but they have to be better than Wouldn't You Love to Love Me?
Sure.
On originals.
Right.
That quality or better of studio tracks that are not already circulating. That's the best answer I could give, because, you can ask for, whatever studio
31,
track,
21
funky,
movie or
funky, This House Comes.
All right, sure, yeah.
But we already have that in very good quality. So to get that in slightly better quality, well, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, being honest, my Purple Music was so quiet. My version of Purple Music was so quiet that, like, I was really pleased to. I actually heard what the song went like when they re-released it. It was like, I always knew this was good. I just needed to turn it out 15 times.
The version that they released actually has extra synths and stuff on it. It's not the same as the version that was already circulating.
Oh, really?
If you go and listen to that back to back, there's a bunch of like extra keyboard stuff on there.
Right.
They're not there at all. Like, I listen hard and they are not there at all. So
what are your plans?
We haven't even really talked about it. We're just going. We're going, and then at some point we'll be like, I've had enough of this. But for now, we're going.
Yeah, and as long as there's fire in the...
We've still got the free shows coming out. We've got Peach and Black Plus. We've got the survey. If you haven't voted we're doing a survey of the top 20 songs of the 2000s. That's from 2000 up to 2016.
Yeah, okay.
The link, if you want the link for that, it's on our Twitter and Facebook.
Wicked.
But we're trying to make that get as many people voting in that.
And what kind of stuff can they imagine on Peach and Black Plus?
Ooh, that is reviewing the live legacy of Prince. So we take, instead of an album review, we talk about the album and all the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
This is reviewing either an audio concert or a video live concert.
Awesome.
And it's a bit of a different format. We've got different sections, different things that we talk about.
Wicked.
But it's like, for years people have been saying, when are you going to review the bootlegs?
Right,
well,
yeah.
This is what that is.
Yeah, wicked. Awesome.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask what your favourite moments from doing the show, like the people that you've interviewed and things like that. Have you got any particular highlights?
Well, obviously, chatting with Prince has to be at the top of that list, I'm guessing.
Of course,
that all happened because of the show.
Yeah.
But, then we talked to Larry Graham. That was great.
Do you love your mother?
We talked to Ida. We talked to Tony M. We talked to Morris.
Right.
Morris Hayes, not Morris Day. we haven't got enough money to pay Morris Day for an interview, so that's probably not going to happen. And even if we get him, he'll just tell us it's in the book. So what are you going to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just thinking back to some of the probably the funniest things didn't even get in the show for whatever reason, which is crazy to think about because there's been some funny things in the shows.
Yeah.
But there's been some things which were just like, that's whatever that topic we got onto, that's not suitable to go out. So, yeah, they've been cut. But that's some of my probably funniest memories of just some of the ridiculous conversations we've had. And you've heard of most of them, but there's been a few that didn't get to go out.
Wicked. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And may it go on for as long as you feel like doing it, really. I'll be listening.
Yeah, I was hoping you don't say forever. But yeah, as long as we are happy to do it, that's a good plan.
Yeah, for as long as you're enjoying it.
A few more years.
That was recorded 10:35 on a lonely Friday night with Captain from the Peach and Black podcast. Thanks, Captain, for doing that. And next up we're going to have a bit of cooking because you probably worked up a bit of a little rumble in your stomach.
Yeah.
So what are we going to have for some food then?
Well, in honour of Prince's legacy, we are having a super vegetarian / you can make it vegan dish cooked by Ben Phillips again. He's back!
Listen, he's back.
And I know you all tried the scrambled eggs. I did, and they were tasty.
Yeah, getting a lot of reports. I get texts every few days saying those scrambled eggs are good. So here's more from Ben. Take it away.
Okay, so today I'm going to do a very simple pasta dish. Most of what I'm cooking at the moment is being dictated by what I'm being sent in veg boxes and stuff, not being able to get Tesco delivery slots, and we're shielding because my little boy has respiratory issues. So completely dictated by what's being sent, and got sent some beautiful courgettes today in our veg box. Got sent this lovely lemon, and got sent some garlic as well. So, going to make some very simple pasta. I'm going to chop up these courgettes. I'm going to slice the garlic and fry it off. And we're just going to have some pasta with some courgettes, some lemon, some olive oil. And you don't have to do this, it's completely optional. But I had some pesto left over in the freezer, some homemade pesto I made, which was just a handful of basil leaves, handful of pine nuts, some parmesan, and some olive oil bashed up in a garlic clove, bashed up in a pestle and mortar. So I'm just going to chuck that in at the end. So, going to get cracking and slice this garlic. So I've just got some finely chopped garlic there, 4 cloves. Don't worry about garlic breath, we're self-isolating. If the person or people you're with don't have the garlic as well, they're missing out and they deserve your garlic breath. So, want a good coating of oil in the pan because it's going to help make some of the sauce. So, a bit of oil in there. I'm just going to let that heat up whilst I slice up these courgettes. Okay, so my courgettes are now chopped, and at this point I'm going to add the pasta. And it's really important we give that water a good handful of salt as well. Hands up who always accidentally on purpose puts too much pasta in. In with our courgettes into this hot oil. And we just want to cook those quite gently. And here it's starting to sizzle here, so that they get some nice colour on them. We're not putting the garlic in yet because the garlic's not going to take very long to cook, and we don't want the garlic to burn because then it'll be bitter. Okay, so courgettes in, pinch of salt, and lots of black pepper. Alright, and we're just going to cook these, we're going to saute them quite slowly over a gentle heat. Okay, so my courgettes have had about 7 or 8 minutes now. You can see They've got a nice bit of colour on them. They've still got a bit of bite to them. They're not soft and mushy, and they're nicely caramelised on the outside. So at this point, go in my garlic, and I've grated some lemon zest of that lemon, which I'm just going to add as well. That's going to add some beautiful, beautiful perfume to the dish. So just adding that and just letting that garlic sweat off slightly. And there's one surefire way to make sure we know when pasta is cooked, and that's to try a bit. Yeah, just the right punch of al dente. So at this point, I'm going to strip in some thyme. Just going to add a lovely little bit of earthy flavour. Obviously, I'm using some optional bonus pesto as well, so I don't need to go crazy with the herbs. But just stripping in some thyme here. And I can just smell that garlic starting to catch, so I'm going to turn it off now. And I'm going to let it down with that beautiful lemon I got sent this morning in my veg box. Going to squeeze that lemon juice in there, which is going to help it emulsify into a sauce. Right, now, when we drain pasta, very important, put a mug under the colander. So I've got some of that pasta water there in that mug. So I'm going to add to the sauce, which helps it stay extra silky. Just put the heat back on gently. Add that pasta. And this is the point where I'm just going to chuck in that pesto. If you didn't want to use pesto, you could just use a bit of extra olive oil here. It would work just as well, to be honest. Serve this up. And I'm just going to finish it with some Parmesan cheese. So there we have pasta with courgette, lemon, garlic and thyme with some leftover pesto. Can't wait to tuck in.
Welcome back to Covier Breakdown. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Lisa.
Okay, well, we're gonna have some. We're gonna have like a little review of some comics here. I don't know if you can get these, but I figured it was a good time to do it. So we've got first up. We've got Prince comics. There's only 3 of them. I think there might be one other in circulation, which I saw a fleeting glimpse of online once. But basically, this one is published by Rock and Roll Comics, Revolutionary Comics. It's a Rock and Roll comic. It has Prince and George Clinton, which is a bonus. So this one is mainly just a biographical one. It just takes you through Prince's life and his many accomplishments up until around about the Graffiti Bridge era. Which ties in really nicely with the George Clinton thing, because George Clinton was in Graffiti Bridge. I would recommend that. It's quite a good read. It's fun enough. If you like just reading about the history of a band in a comic format, I've got a similar one about Living Colour and one about U2 as well. Which brings us on to this one, which was by Piranha Comics. Both of these are by Piranha Comics. Oh, right, I get it. I thought I'd given her a paper cut for a minute. So this one is awesome and is called Alter Ego, I'm pretty sure, and it's about Prince comes back off of tour to find that there's this other Prince who's taking over, and he's leading people down a dark, mean route called, I think it's called Gemini in it, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I haven't read it in a long time, but yeah, so this is awesome, and he has to battle his alter ego, who is kind of like almost as powerful as himself, but he's on the side of good, so the true Prince wins, which is awesome. I wholly recommend that, but maybe we've left the best for last. This is called Prince 3 Chains of Gold, and in this you see Prince and his band fight the cause of Maite, who's the princess of Cairo, whose father is killed by a man with nefarious plans. and Prince and the MPG have to swoop in, protect Maite and the Three Chains Gold, and fight against a lot of bad guys. And they carry around like machine guns inside their instrument cases and stuff like that. This is a good fun comic. So,
sounds like Prince should have been cast as Bond.
It's got a little bit of Bond about it. There's definitely, if anybody's seen the Three Chains of Gold video, there's a kind of, he kind of is this rock star who's also somehow saving the Princess of Cairo from baddies who killed her dad. So it's very much themed around that. But yeah, I very much recommend these. They're all very, very good. Go out and get those on eBay if you can. I'm not sure how much you'll pay for them. I picked them up over the years.
A tasty dollar.
And next up, we're going to have some gaming. Do you like games, Grace?
I do like games.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, Games is actually a really early Prince bootleg on the 1977 Minneapolis Genius recordings. So
yeah.
That's a deep cut for you.
Well, here's Tristabytes with another great game review and a sneaky little interview with the developer of the game.
Hi guys, I'm Tristabytes and I wanted to give you an awesome indie game recommendation for your time in lock-in. This is a game you can play with all the family. It's an all-ages adventure platforming game called Figment. Now Figment is like a wonderful fairy tale looking at the inside of the human mind. It works very much like a children's fairy tale movie. It even has songs composed specifically for the game which are sung by the bosses. It was created by Bedtime Studios. It was released in 2017.
It's a very deep story to have around something that otherwise would kind of just be action, adventure, puzzle.
Yeah.
It's kind of something that ties it all together with the visuals as well.
Yeah. It's important for us because the setting is fun, like the play space is interesting by itself, but that doesn't do everything, especially when you have a few hours of game. Like the full game is around 5-6 hours.
Okay.
So if it was only a cute thing, then that wouldn't work. That wouldn't hold up. So it was important for us to also have a deeper story and more layers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can get hold of the game over on Steam. You can also pick it up on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. It works on Mac, Linux, Windows, everything. It is really, really sweet and wonderful little game that you can play with your family as well, which is lovely to see. So if you want something that's very whimsical, musical, and just generally will take you out of everything that's going on in the real world right now, then Figment is a lovely little game to do that with. So please check it out and let us know what you thought about the game, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Thanks for that, and please do go and check out the rest of that interview and the Tristabytes channel. Bex has made tons and tons of great content on there, and she's always on her Twitch and doing streaming things and stuff like that. She really doesn't stop. So did a 7-hour stream, I'm pretty sure, the other day. So, and she did a charity one as well. So yeah, big up Bex, well done. Go and visit Tristabytes. Next up, what have we got, Grace?
We have got another interview!
Another interview?
Another interview!
2 interviews in one show!
We're going down under again with Lady Lisa!
Yes, she's a PR lady. She's worked with a lot of Prince affiliates, and she has a little story to share about Prince himself as well. So I hope you enjoy this. You've been in PR now for 30 years, is that correct?
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, that's it. So how did you get into that, first of all?
Well, I started out kind of dancing and stuff in clubs when I was a teenager, doing underage stuff. And as soon as I was able to get into the overage stuff, I did a lot of, I would say modeling, but back in those days, we would have brands and we would do like dance routines and stuff for the brands. It wasn't like catwalk stuff. And from there, I got to know DJs, and from DJs, I got to know other people. Ended up on a radio show, which was hugely successful here in Australia. And through that radio show, I got to...
What was that called? Sorry.
WKD with Wayne Fernandez. And I mean, this is long before internet was even thought of.
Sure.
And mobile phones and stuff. So
yeah.
we're on from about 91 till 98, and we were...
what a golden period for music, anyway.
Yeah, it was a great time, and music was going through some great things, and We were like the #1 radio show for a long time. Rolling Stone magazine did a feature on us. Like, we were
Wicked, yeah.
pretty popular. From there, I got to interview a lot of people, a lot of celebrities for the show. And then because the show was so successful, we got some investors and started doing some tours on the back of the success of the show.
Right, sure.
Just smaller artists like Horace Brown and KC and JoJo and Rex and Effect and that kind of stuff. And then Colour Me Bad, those kind of groups from back in those days. And then, then I started doing red carpets, and it just kind of developed from there. And it's really interesting. Paul Peterson gave me a testimonial and said, in the testimonial, said she's an advocate for every artist she meets. And I really love that, because it's kind of true to form about who I am and what I do, and it's something I've always done, whether it was something I was paid to do or, done, an agreement, or just because, I love that artist or whatever. So
yeah, it's a personal thing rather than necessarily, there doesn't need to be a check on the table for you to profess your love for something. Yeah, sure.
It's all about, obviously to get the check is going to be handy, and to actually be paid for something you love is brilliant. That you're just drawn to do for things that you appreciate. Like with anything, like someone who likes model trains or model cars or...
Yeah. So over that time, you ended up then moving just mainly into PR after, I'm guessing, the radio show stopped eventually, or you left. What happened there?
The show stopped. R&B, hip-hop, the stuff that we were playing, New Jack Swing and stuff. When we started, the funkiest thing you'd hear on the radio would be like the Eagles or Fleetwood Mac. And when we got to the end of our show, stations had picked up on our success and tried to sort of, I guess, profit off that. And then there was so many commercial stations starting to play what we played, it was drowning out, and we were losing
that makes
battle
sense.
there. Which we were happy to sort of move out gracefully anyway, because the whole idea of why we did what we did is to get it to that mainstream and to bring it to that level. And if we were able to actually start doing that, well, then we've done our job. We're happy. We can.
All the things that had started when you had started were also kind of on their way, I guess, into a new phase and everything anyway.
Millennium, everything was different. Everything was new. Things were changing. And it was time, we'd done it for a while, and it was time to do that and time to get out. Music was changing. It wasn't exciting me as much as it used to earlier on in the 90s.
So did you go straight into PR from that?
I started doing music journalism and writing and doing red carpets and that kind of stuff. So I started working for the biggest newspaper in Australia, the Herald Sun, and I was doing their gig guides and their music magazine and doing red carpets for them and interviews and that kind of stuff. So in the corporate world, but kind of doing music stuff.
Sure.
And then, the newspaper world can be a bit tedious, even if you are just focusing on music. So I had to get out of there, and just all sorts, anything music related just seemed to pop on my doorstep. So I was DJing clubs, I was dancing and choreographing routines for club nights. I was promoting, international music shows. I was doing all sorts of stuff. Very, one thing that I'll say about myself on a professional level is I'm very well-rounded. But more recently, in 2018, I went back to Kiss FM, which is the radio show I kind of started, one of the radio shows I started, like PBS and Kiss FM. So I went back to Kiss after, 20-something years, and did a radio show called Mama's Musicology for 1 year. I interviewed so many amazing people, Tony from the MPG, Andre Simone, Taja Savell, Andy Allo, Liv Warfield, Morris Hayes, Paul Peterson, Ricky Peterson, like the Van Hunt, like the list was just crazy because there was so much anticipation for me to get back on the airwaves after 20 years that, everyone was excited to be on board, and everyone was really supportive of the project. And me doing that. So I was really, really lucky. And it was, it was like the Seinfeld thing, just do 1 year of it. Not that Seinfeld did 1 year, but sort of go out with a bang when you're at your sort of peak. Yes. So that was great. And then, so from there I started doing PR stuff, and everyone's saying, why don't you do it as a proper business? Actually have a business name for it and whatever. So in March 2018, the PR lady was born, and I was really lucky to have, my first clients were the MPG and Andre Simone in association with the Blues Fest Festival that they came out for. So lucky enough to have them at the launch of my business, my business launch. And
that was a good show as well. I saw the London.
Oh, well, we were lucky.
I saw the London leg of that. It was a good show. It was a really good show.
Seriously, Lee, we had Andre Simone and Mackenzie and Tamar and Kip and Mono Neon and Kirk on drums and Tony and Homer and Morris and Damon, and we had the most amazing MPG lineup I think anyone's ever seen. And then 3 months later, we had that Nothing Compares to Prince tour. With,
you did, didn't you? That was crazy.
Jelly Bean and Uncle Paul, and Cora was on drums, and MPG horns. We had Adrian Crutchfield and BK Jackson. We had Liv. We had Shelby. We had Paul Peterson. We had Tori Ruffin. We've been really lucky in Australia with the Prince stuff that we have had.
Yeah, for people who are uninitiated, let's say, who are watching, basically you just reeled off all of the names from all of the eras of his work. Effectively, is that the people who date right back to the early Minneapolis days, right up to people who are on the Planet Earth tours and things like that. Like Cora's well underrated as a drummer. I think she's one of the best drummers Prince had, actually.
Agreed.
So then, have you got any particularly cool stories about any of the various? Well, Prince himself, obviously, if you have anything, but also the various alumni.
When I was growing up, being a big Prince fan, my 3 favorite associated Prince artists were Jesse Johnson, Andre Simone, and Paul Peterson. And they were my 3 favorites. So growing up, they were my focus. And I love Brown Mark as well. But, in their own right, I love those 3. And I'm in a position at the moment where their numbers are in my phone.
Yeah,
crazy. My phone. If you had told me that 25 years ago, acquainted, and a long time ago, when the Love for One Another website came out, it was the first website that he did. It was
I remember it well.
Interactive game that he released.
Yes.
There was a time around that era where I got my first job, and it was a really well-paying job for doing not a lot, and I was really like, wow, this is amazing. And when I was young, I was unfortunate to be put in a position where I was literally had to live on the street when I was about 12 years old. So I was about, And during that time, Prince, the Love Sexy album particularly, it's definitely one of my favorite albums, but it's not my favorite Prince album. But what it did for me is it sort of helped me believe in myself, it helped me believe in God, it kind of helped me understand myself, be confident enough to sort of get off the street and not let it beat me and that kind of stuff. I mean, I was a kid. And so when I got this job, the first thing I wanted to do was make a donation to Prince's charity in his name, or to say thank you, because I don't know if I would have got that job, and if my life had not have met the path, should I have not come across him and the music and whatever. So I rang Paisley Park. This is back in the day when, you had landline phones, and I rang Paisley Park and told the lady, look, I was on the street when I was young. Prince really helped me sort of get off the street and find myself, and I've just got this really good job and I want to make a donation to his charity in his name, and I was wondering if you could tell me what the charity is. This lady's almost in tears, and she's like, can you hold on a minute? And I'm like, yeah. And I was waiting on the phone for half an hour. I thought she forgot about me. And she comes back and she gives me an email address. She says, look, send an email to this email address and they'll sort you out. And I'm like, what do I say? She's like, just exactly what you told me. I'm like, okay. I go, well, what's the email address? And she goes, have you got a pen? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, it's LOVE, the number 4, ONE. And I'm like, love for one another. And she said, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, love for one another. She goes, yes. And she goes, at AOL.com. I'm like, that's him. That's him. That's him.
Amazing.
Right?
So, yeah.
And she's like, and she kind of giggled like, yes, it is. And I'm like,
really?
died.
Wow.
So for about 9-10 months, we started emailing. Initially, I asked for the charity and stuff, completely forgot about by the second email because we just started talking. It was definitely him.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because, you know, I'm a Gemini like Prince and like Jessie. I call a spade, and Prince, you know, can have a bit of ego, could have been obnoxious at times, pre-Maite maybe. And I expected him to be a bit of a smart ass, basically.
Right.
And I told him that.
Oh, really?
Because
what did he say?
I'm not one of those, I don't really care who you are. I'll just talk to you like, you know, like.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So, you know, we started talking about really intense, deep stuff about Indigenous Australia, about the luxuries that we have here in Australia with healthcare and with unemployment.
Right, sure.
That kind of stuff. You know, it's free to go to the doctor whenever you want, that kind of stuff, which, you know, obviously I don't have in America.
Yes.
About cultural stuff. Like we didn't talk about music at all, and we didn't talk about the charity at all. It was just kind of really like a deeper, meaningful conversations about the community and about, you know, the society and whatever. And I remember him saying to me, you know, what goes on in your suburb? And I'm like, I don't know, what do you mean? It's like, what goes on? You have, you know, street block parties? Do you have festivals or things?
Right, yeah.
Dude, if you lived in my area, you wouldn't want to leave the house. Like, you don't want to be doing shit like that in my area. And we're having a bit of a laugh, and I just said to him, I'm really surprised. I thought you'd be, you know, a bit more of a sort of smart ass. And he said, oh, I can be, but this conversation doesn't call for that. I was like, okay.
Nice.
That
sounds so Prince.
Thank you very much.
That's such a Prince thing to say as well.
Prince. But he said to me that, because I said to him, all right, look, we've been talking for ages. Give me this charity so I can put some money in there. I've got my first paycheck. Give me this charity. Let's make some money. Let's put some money in there for you. And he said, you know, I'm actually not going to give you the details. And I said, why? And he said, you told me that you don't know your local area. And he said, and what I want you to do is, he said, I want you to do something for someone that really needs it in your local area, and that'll ripple out to me in Minneapolis before you know it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like bawling my eyes out reading this email, right?
Yeah.
Because I just didn't expect him. I was just like, you know, that's why I was like, dude, I just expect you to be a bit ruder and stuff. Like, I didn't expect to be having this conversation with you. And like,
yeah. I was just going to ask if it was typed in like 4s and 2s and U's and his usual, what they call the Prince bonnets.
That's how I knew. Well, that's how I knew it was him.
It was.
Yeah, it was all like that. And he had, I don't know how he did it, because this was a long time before all this stuff came out. But I remember, I knew it was him because I thought.
Oh, the symbol. He had a symbol.
Well, he had an eye, like a picture of an eye. So anytime he wrote the word I, like I am going.
Oh, right.
So I told him I would do that for him. He said, you know, that's one thing, you know, if you want to give to my charity, give to me in that way, and it'll.
Yes, yeah.
So, you know, I try and honor his legacy as much as I can, even now, through what we talked about. And the email address came back one day that it wasn't an email address anymore, and that was sort of the last I sort of spoke to him. I didn't follow it up or whatever. I think that everything happens in the right timing, and that was just my time.
Of course, wicked.
So there was only one other time I had an interaction with Prince, and that was the Soundcheck 2004 musicology tour. Well, it was called the Greatest Hits Tour here, but it was the musicology.
Sure, yeah.
So we did everything: the sound checks, the concert, the after party, right, the works. And the sound checks were the best. They were the best things I've ever been to in my life, because people were just yelling out songs, their favorite songs, and the band would just start playing, and I'm like, oh my God, Bambi, oh my God. And just things never expect to hear in a greatest hits tour, right? So
sure.
Everyone's down the front. The whole place is lit up. It's during the day. We're at sound check, and we've got Chance and Rad on keyboards, and Renato Neto. We've got Rhonda and Mike Scott and John Blackwell, rest in peace, bless his soul. So it was a really cool band, and everyone's down the front, and I'm sort of, where you got all the seats and then there's a gap. So I'm kind of standing there because I wanted to hear, I didn't want to hear front of house. I wanted to hear the band.
Yeah, off the band. Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I'm like obsessed with John Blackwell. I always have been, and I was just staring at him.
Quite rightly too.
Love him. Good friend, and miss him a lot. But so I was fixated on John Blackwell, and the soundcheck band's playing, and then I noticed everyone that's at the front is looking at me, and I'm like,
why are you looking at me?
What's going on? And then my friend Cha, who was there, she's like, and like Prince is standing right here.
Really? Wow.
Right here, probably half a meter away from me. And I look at him, he looks at me, and I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey. And then I look, just behind him is his security guard, like this big guy. And I looked at him, and as soon as I caught his eye, he was like ready to pounce, like, oh shit. And then I just kind of looked at him, smiled, and then I was so nervous, I just ignored him and went back to watching John, right?
Yeah,
and I'm freaking out. I'm like dying here because all my friends, I can see all my friends going, oh my God. I love you. But he's such a little idiot because he walked in front of me, looked me up and down, kept his eyes on me the whole time, walked around me, and then walked back up to the stage and went back on with the sound check. And I was, because I'm very outspoken, I'll tell him he's being, contradicting little issue if I have to, and I always did. And so he probably thought, I'm going to go right up to her and see what this chick is going to say to me. And I was just like, g'day. Back to John. Right? So that was the other interaction I had.
He's so funny.
He's a Gemini, so I think there were different personalities that came out from him at different eras of his life. Like, I've never seen him more humble and happy than when he was with Maite. At that point, I'd never seen him like that. I found him to be really humble and really happy and coming out of his shell and not giving a shit.
For a little while there, it's probably the most inverted commas normal that things got.
Like, as a marketer, as a marketing person, I mean, when he put that, what I think it was New Power Soul, what album did he put in that English newspaper that day? What album was that? Was that New Power Soul?
No, that was, so he did 2010 and Planet Earth through the newspaper.
Oh, Planet Earth, that's right.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, that paper sells how many millions of copies on that day?
It's a lot.
And so you think about it, those two albums are the biggest selling albums of all time on the day or the week of their release because they sold that many copies. It's just it's just genius. There's a thing called Prince's Law, where now he used to. The reason why Musicology Tour was so big is because he gave you an album with it. So he gave you that choice. So they put a law, and it made him chart, obviously, because of the ticket sales and whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's just smart marketing, right? To play, release, and sell music on the internet, which is genius. And then helping all of these other artists out of their contracts to create what we know now as the music industry, because as far as I'm concerned, Prince created the music industry as we know it.
What 3 Prince tracks that people don't usually check out would you say they need to check out?
God Created Woman from the Symbol album.
Lush song.
I think it's just such a beautiful and underrated song.
So gorgeous.
Muse to the Pharaoh from Rainbow Children.
Nice. Good choice, yeah.
Dig You Better Dead from Chaos and Disorder.
Oh, really? From Chaos and Disorder. Quality. Nice one. Yeah, good choices.
Definitely The Word from...
off 3121.
3121.
Strong album. What a strong album that is.
Back to back, that and Musicology was like a very big favourite era of mine.
What was your favourite era, if you could pick one little era?
Emancipation. We got
Right,
3
sure.
albums
That whole...
of quality stuff in a time where he was so at peace and happy with himself, where he'd found the love of his life. He was really humble, and you know, the success that came with him being the symbol is, you know, really happy for him at the time, because it was all about him and all his own stuff and all financed by him and all, you know, it was, and most beautiful girl in the world, Uncle Ricky Peterson had, you know, produced it, and so all that stuff was really exciting to me.
We'll wrap this up and say thank you very much. Thanks for joining me. That's really sweet of you.
7 hours, baby. So what you wanna do? Let a woman be a woman and a man be a man. Upload.
Oh wow, that's
Letting me die.
Welcome back to Code Video Breakdown. I'm Diamond.
And I'm Pearl.
So, did you enjoy that?
I really did.
So after all that, I feel a bit like singing. Do you feel like some singing?
Yes, I do feel like singing.
You're kind of turning it into
Maybe
like...
for the rest of the day.
I don't want to do that
Why not?
because it's lame. Here's Emma Black to teach you how to sing.
Hey everyone, it's Emma, the online vocal coach, and I've got another exercise for you today to try out at home. So we're going to work our way up the scale on a La, and the idea behind this exercise is vocal agility. So we just really want to practice hitting all of those notes, especially on the way down, nice and clearly. But most importantly, let's have some fun with it and let's just get everyone singing. So I'm going to try it first time round with you, and second time I'll let you run through it yourself. On a La, nice and comfortable. hopefully you made your way through that. And yeah, really try and focus on hitting as many of those notes as you can. So I'm going to let it run and you can try it by yourself. Woo! Sorry about the keys playing. Here we go. La. my keys playing. But yeah, the idea behind that is to work through your registers. Try not hold on to your register for too long. If it feels like you want to transition into the next one, don't be afraid to do that. You don't want to strain and really try and hold on to your chest voice for more than is uncomfortable for you to do so. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the exercise. Keep sharing, keep smiling, and definitely keep on singing. Thank you.
That segment was amazing.
Yeah, awesome, Emma. Thank you very much. Do go and check out her online lessons, the online vocal coach. All the details are already there. I didn't need to tell you. You know the drill by now.
And check out the tribute band, Purple Rain.
Oh, Purple Rain. Do check out them. Yeah, we've been to many a sweaty gig. Yeah, that's good fun. Real attention to detail in terms of the live set and stuff that they do. Yeah, really good stuff. And she's great. Kind of the Prince girl that never was, in a strange way. You could very much imagine her being in one of the Prince band lineups. So thanks again, Emma. And next up we're gonna have, do you know what? Grace, I want you to tell all your friends about me.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
Batman, Tim Burton's 1989 classic. This movie's amazing. I watched it this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning because my kid woke up and didn't want to go back to sleep, so we watched Batman. And then we watched Batman too. But we watched Batman. Batman's awesome. Michael Keaton is a definitive cinematic Batman, Bruce Wayne. He embodied the essence of who Bruce Wayne was perfectly, and the nature of Batman. And especially what he had to work with, given that the way the suit was constructed for this movie, it was all like kind of one piece, cowl, cape, mask, and everything. And it's like he couldn't turn his head. It was just thick ass rubber. And he couldn't. I mean, Christian Bale had a similar problem, but like he couldn't, and he still sold that. This was amazing. Jack Nicholson as the Joker was fantastic. He was perfect. He brought the right amount of the kind of camp that Cesar Romero brought, and the darkness that was in the Frank Miller books, and and it's the essence of who the Joker was, and it was goofy, but it was serious, and it was deadly, and it was psychotic. It's like it was Jack. You know what I mean? He was brilliant, and the fact that you have Michael Keaton and Jack in essentially like, I don't know. I'm considering Superman, Richard Donner, the kind of definitive comic book superhero film, but then after those is this. This is before, this is before the Bryan Singer X-Men. This is before the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. This is before the Fantastic Four flops. This is before the MCU. This is before everything. It was Christopher Reeve Superman and Michael Keaton Batman. You have these guys, and you bring in Jack Palance, screen icon legend. And he's in there, probably worked for 2 or 3 days as the main crime boss that the Joker used to work for before he became the Joker. And it's just the way that this film breaks down. It's like Warner Brothers didn't want Tim Burton to do this. They didn't want it to be dark like this. They didn't want Michael Keaton. They didn't want Beetlejuice playing Batman. They didn't want that guy doing it. And basically Tim Burton stuck to his guns and said, nah, this is what we're doing. This is what I want to do. This is the movie I want to make, so I'm making it. And, that carried on into Batman Returns, which is much more comic booky and super dark and uncomfortable, especially with the Penguin, Oswald, Cobblepot stuff. And then that ended up killing any chance for his trilogy, which apparently he wanted to do a 3, which would have had Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, Two-Face, and eventually have Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman in her own thing, which then became the Halle Berry movie. And we know how that went. We love you, Halle, but that movie sucks. Danny Elfman did the score. It's like this is combined with the Batman the Animated Series. It's the same kind of feel, same kind of vibe. And then in addition to the score, is fitting the color of my wall behind me, because the Purple One himself, your boy Prince, did the soundtrack, and that was amazing. So you have a Prince soundtrack, you have this, banging cast, Robert Wool, and Kim Basinger. It's amazing, and the fact is that this was made in 1989, and honestly, it still stands up. It still stands up to this day. you can sit there and you can watch it and you can be pulled into it, and it's fantastic. The thing that stands out is like, this is one of those films that, you know, people, cinephiles, comic book nerds, movie lovers, pop culture people that like to, you know, speak in movie quotes and throw things at you. It's like, this is that movie. This is one of those flicks. This is one of those joints. This movie gave us things like Bob Gunn, you know, if you gotta go with a smile. You wanna get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Have you ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight? I always got set up all my friends. Yeah, I do in real life. Reap the whirlwind. It's so much as, you know, where does he get such wonderful toys? It's so many quotable moments when you watch the movie. It's like, it brings me back. The brilliant thing about this film is that it's an origin story and it's not an origin story. It's like in the days where people are kind of terrified to not just jump right into some issue. You got to tell how this person became this person, because nobody knows that a spider bit Peter Parker. No one knows that Batman's parents got killed. No, these characters are like 100 years old. The DC characters specifically, 80s. Let's say 80 years old, right? You know, Batman, Superman, the ones that ushered in, they're old. People know, even if they don't watch comic book movies or read comic books or give a shit about any of these people, they know why Superman is on Earth. They know that his Krypton blew up or he's an alien baby. They know that I think Batman's is probably the most famous origin story, and maybe Spider-Man is second after that with Uncle Ben. But it's like, everybody knows that Batman's parents were killed. And this movie skips that shit. And it kind of gives us a little glimpse, little flashback, only because of how they tie in the killer of his parents and what's happening today. But when the movie starts, man, Batman's already Batman. He's doing his thing and he's in the shadows. Criminals are terrified of him. But it's a really cool Joker origin story. I mean, I know we just got the Joker. We're watching. This is different than this. It's a cool Joker origin story and how they tie Joker and Batman together. And like, you made me first. And it's, I don't know, it's really clever. Michael Keaton is Batman. And Jack, I love Heath. I love what Heath did. It's different. You know, I love what Mark Hamill does with the voice. This right here. This is that classic right here. Check it out. If you can get it streaming, get it streaming. If you can pick it up, pick it up. If you got a friend that has it, you know, make them wash their hands and sanitize it and loan it to you. Batman.
Thanks, Adam George. That is the great best movie ever. And the only movie that follows it, as he rightly said, is Batman Returns. So go for some of that. Maybe we'll get a review of that sometime. Who knows? Maybe. That was a change in the formatted schedule. We will have a Last Boy Scout review at some point, definitely. But yeah, all our internet is going crazy lately, so it's really hard getting this content back and forth. There's a load of great stuff coming up in the next show, I do know already, because we've already got some content coming in. We've got more hair. We've got more food. I think the twins are making a return to the show to cook up a Desert Storm for you. Not a dessert storm, we'll have to get them on that at some point. And we've also got an amazing singer from LA called Savannah Pope, who I interviewed, an awesome artist from here in Bath called Daniel Rushforth, a little feature on them featuring a lot of their art, and a whole stack more stuff, hopefully some music as well.
And more bad jokes.
Well, I don't know, there might be some good ones in there as well. You know, come back. It's a crapshoot. It's a game of chance.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone who has been sending in their content and everyone who's been saying that they've been trying the tutorials and checking out the music and sharing, and it's really nice to be able to do something that brings us all together as a community in an international way. I think this is something that Prince would have approved of, I'd say. I think it's got a symbol of approval.
Do you approve? Do you approve? He's pretty silent, actually. It's hard to get a compliment out of him, being honest. So yeah, I think he's looks like he's smiling.
What have we got to close the show, Lee?
We've got Anand, who previously taught you how to play Keep on Rocking in the Free World by Neil Young on guitar in a previous show, and he's back to play us one of his songs. He's in Uncut Duff, apparently is how it's said. It's Gaelic, so or Celtic, sorry. So yeah, so I'm not very good with, I'm not a linguist. I'm quite a cunning, I thought I was a cunning linguist, but I just... Excuse me, but is this really goodbye?
Shut up already! Damn!
and faith, both are the same, depending on where you're standing. And pride and grace, both they replace the highest form of beauty. But I just won't wait any longer. It's time that I try. No, I just won't wait any longer. It's time that I pleasure and pain, hope to contain the very same experience. Passion and grief, hope can deceive your deepest core of virtue. And I just can't wait any longer. It's time that I fly. No, I just can't wait any longer. And you're the reason why. Fire and faith, both are the same, depending on who you're hanging in. Pleasure and pain, both to contain the very same experience. I just can't wait any longer. Time that I've tried, and I just